name is Kelly Wolf, and you're watching Cole's Epilogue. Let's get into it.
I like classical music. You felt they were classics for a reason, and they would lend themselves well to dancing together. Baxter nodded approvingly. Cole was even more supportive of your recommendation. Cool. I think I can guess some songs you're hoping for.
Absolutely.
Of course. And speaking of that, let's chat about particular tracks. After continuing to discuss music selections for a while, your office time with Baxter finished, and it was time to leave for the day. Goodbyes were said, knowing the separation wouldn't last long. Tomorrow wasn't far. The hours passed by quickly. It felt like a blink by the time the session rolled around. After a bit of lunch, you drove Cove to his first solo dance with Baxter. He was definitely nervous on the drive there. Despite his usual anxiousness, he insisted he wanted to do the lesson on his own. He would show you the moves after he practiced. You wished Cove luck and dropped him off, hoping he'd have a good time. He drove off as soon as he disappeared into the building. The van was run to run some errands until it was time to pick him back up. You heard about a new store that opened recently. It was close enough that you decided to check it out and see if they had anything worth getting. Unfortunately, the store didn't have good selection compared to other options, and but you saw it in the snack section. You debated on buying something in order not to leave empty-handed. You brought a chocolate bar. You plucked the bar off the shelf and brought it. Another store you knew would have what you needed and was in minutes away. A short drive later, and you were on your way to finishing your errands. It was nice to keep busy while waiting for Cove. When the time came, you drove the car to the front of the building, stopping where Cove stood on the sidewalk. Cove greeted you with a smile, then hopped into the car. He closed the door behind him and buckled his seatbelt with a click. How'd it go? Cove shifted in his seat, rubbing the back of his neck. It was awkward, as you probably guessed, but not that bad. He ran as he thought. You listened to the vivacity in his voice, even as you focused on driving through the parking lot. Baxter is not a bad teacher. You pulled out from in front of the building and started making your way through the first intersection. What'd you talk about with your time together? Yourself, you admitted you were really curious. From what you could remember of the summer years ago, Cove and Baxter never spent time with just each other. Cove hummed and thought. We mostly focused on the dance lesson. I think we also talked about some general wedding stuff. He asked me about the material of napkins I liked. Nothing personal. He didn't bring up anything from back before, when he wasn't our wedding planner. He paused for a moment, then continued. It had to have been on purpose. I mean, after what happened. Why would he talk about it? He really doesn't want to repeat that. You had Cove tap the car door with his fingertips as you made a right turn. I think we made progress in more than just my coordination. A smile tugged at your lips. That was good to hear. You finally pulled into a parking space and parked the car. You couldn't linger in the car too long given your own lessons. It was time to go. You looked at the grocery bag in the back seat with the snack that you had brought. You offered some to Cove. If you're hungry, feel free to take a snack. You probably needed some fuel after dancing for so long. You pointed at the food, and Cove's eyes widened at the sight. That's gonna be good. I'll see you later. Bye. I love you. Love you too. Cove leaned over and gave you a quick kiss. You beamed back at him. You left Cove with the car and walked with a bounce in your step, meet up with your wedding planner and dance instructor. The doors of the office let you in after a firm yank. The air was cooler than it was outside. You followed Baxter's directions from yesterday to navigate the wide halls. A left after the fire extinguisher, then a right to the first set of doors. You found the thick glass doors. You peered into the large event room. It had to be the place. You entered the space and noticed the towers of chairs on the sides of the room. It was hard. It was easy to imagine the room filled with a crowd, but for now, it had been cleared for your private class. And it's the dance room, I guess. Very snazzy. He walked across the empty tiled floor to the counter at the back, where Baxter was. He raised his head, waved you over, setting aside some notes he had been reading. With paper and an elegant fountain pen left on the counter, he strode forward and met you in the middle of the large room.
Hello.
Welcome, Callie. I'm glad you could make it. Hey! You waved at him and smiled warmly. I hope you've been well. Fantastic. Excellent. Baxter pulled a remote from his jacket pocket and clicked a button. A speaker system you hadn't noticed before crackled to life. Familiar music filled the room. He must have been busy to have already had the songs you talked about yesterday ready. He tucked the remote back into his pocket. Then Baxter turned his attention to you. Covered you his hand.
Well,
I'll lead. At least, at first. You can search later if you prefer. The gesture was grandly formal. He had had enough practice. He had enough performance to practice to really feel as if he had stepped out into a fairy tale ball. You took his hands right as he had started. His fingers linked around yours, and he pulled his other arm across your back. You relaxed into the proper form for the dance, muscle memory taken over. Baxter did not attempt to direct you, just remaining present as a reliable partner. You followed the music, timing your steps to the rhythm until you found yourself relaxing into it. Practicing like this was helping smooth out any creases you might have had before. Baxter silently smiled, the twitch of his lips scanned your attention immediately.
you know.
Oh, you know. I recall it wasn't just dance lessons I was available for, was it? I also offered you rides whenever you needed them, didn't I? Hopefully I haven't let you down with that. It took a moment before you understood what I was talking about. You laughed, clear and bright. I think I'll be alright. We have our own cars now. You were impressed you still remembered. But then again, you also remembered it. It'd been a particularly memorable summer, all those years ago. Being firmly in the flow, the discussion died down. The only exchange was the music and sounds of your shoes on the secret floor in time with each other's. I'm glad we met again, you know. He faltered in his step, throwing the dance to a halt. He recovered quickly, his toes going back to perform motions. The precisely perform motions. You got super wide-eyed Baxter. Wide-eyed Baxter. He took a deep breath. Tremors went through his shoulders from the efforts to keep his perfect poise. I apologize for vanishing so thoroughly, and not even attempting to keep in touch. It was unkind. His lips twitched. It was closer to a grimace than anything resembling a smile, even though you thought that's what he was attempting. I didn't think it mattered at the time. Found it completely once I left that bird behind. At least that's what I told myself. Or rather, what I hoped would be true. I wished hard that you and everyone there didn't see me anymore. That you'd never think of me again. You go on with your lives happily, and I wouldn't factor into it. He paused again. How did music sound so much like cold silence?
Huh.
That doesn't make much sense to you, I imagine. And Baxter offered a one-shoulder shrug for your supposed trouble. You made soft, encouraging noise. He took another deep breath, and determination sparkled in his eyes. It's the eternal story of my life. I want to be liked, but I can't be important. And on the same note, it's likely why I'm always drawn to the person everyone. They don't need me. I stayed for a season of fun at the wedding. That's me. I'm not like him. If I was a fiance, he tries. Funny, I think your friends and family like to joke. I never thought so. He didn't even care for me, but was willing to dance together to do better do a bad job for his wedding. In life, there are just someones, and then there's the one. You found your one, and I'm genuinely thrilled you did, and that he found his. All I want is to assist with that happiness, and not get in the way of it. But I began to ramble. We don't need to admit in my troubled past when the future is so bright. Baxter's tone was pointed with finality. That was so much as he would say. That was as much as he would say. The pace of the dance stepped up, going back to what had been before. He nearly stepped on his foot as the sudden change. Since he was clearly not going to discuss it more, you didn't attempt to pry the more details. This had gone into incredibly personal territory. You deserve to be informed. He dropped his gaze at your words, uncomfortable with your sincerity. He decided not to push anymore, the tension slowly drawn out of him. Baxter scored his face, but all the while it appeared like the conversation had never affected them. So, tell me, how did things go with Carb? Baxter chuckled as he led you to the left. You followed, watching his reaction more than your feet. The Cove is, remarkably, sweet man. You have nothing to worry about in more ways than just his dancing. But I won't say anything else and start to climb privilege. That response piqued your interest, past simple curiosity. What had happened? The question was plain on your face, but Baxter suddenly focused on your heels. With him staring downward, you paid more attention to your timing.
Perfect.
Very nice. It's clear you weren't going to get more out of him on the topic. You still dance often?
No.
I don't compete anymore, if that's what you mean. I haven't even kept it up with the hobby lately. I do it for weddings if the couple would like me to assist. He gazed into the distance somewhere else for a heartbeat. Then he came back to you and smiled. I still love dance, clearly. He wiggled his eyebrows and put an emphasis on his movements. You had to admit that he was happy enough during the session. There just isn't room for everything. I imagine you've dealt with similar situations in your adult life. I see.
Thanks.
Thanks for giving me an excuse to make time for a dance. The feeling is mutual. You also love the excuse to dance. This session was a lot of fun. If only the world gave more excuses to dance. That would be a planet you'd love to live on. You focused on your movement. The acoustics of the room were surprisingly good for dancing. The music was at a good volume, despite the floor tiling. The tapping of your steps didn't echo distractingly off the walls. You tried to relax your shoulders and place more confidence in your movement. Left foot, right foot, left foot, turn. You observed the way Baxter seemed to glide across the floor. Following his lead was easy, but you concentrated on taking it further. You mimicked what he did, attempting to learn his gracefulness. He chimed in after noticing what you were doing and made a small suggestion as needed. You continued to dance as the song circled through and back. Thoughts played in your mind about the surrealness of reconnecting with Baxter again, after all these years without contact. However, that was secondary. Your goal of dancing well in your upcoming wedding to the love of your life. It wouldn't be much longer until you would be doing this with your husband. You also leave. Can I leave now? I was about to suggest that, if you want to give it a try. You both rearranged your positions and you were off across the floor. It's different from following Baxter, but it didn't take long for you to rediscover the right tempo. By the end of the session, night had fallen. You said goodbye to Baxter and Cove came to pick you up in the car. You mirrored his actions from earlier, climbing in the passenger seat, clicking in your seatbelt. He had the opportunity to help you as well. So, how did it go? And you sparkle in his eye, let you know that using your words was completely and utterly intentional. You hummed on the songs with a grin. I got that one stuck in my head too. It's gonna be playing in my mind all night. And Cove grinned widely, happy for you. I'm glad this was a good idea. Also, did I thank you for buying me a snack earlier? It was good. You're welcome. I hope there's some left. You craned, you craned your neck around to the inside the back seat. You saw an additional sack. The Cove laughed. Don't worry, I didn't eat everything. I rolled some drinks to go with them. I thought they would be a nice post-dance pickup. Cove knew how much you loved him. Cove better know how much you love him, especially in moments like this. Hey, seriously, what did you and Baxter talk about? You couldn't forget how Baxter phrased it at all. You were too curious. When you were together, something happened. I don't know. He sounded truly confused. He tried to think back, but it was apparent nothing came to mind for him. He didn't talk about anything important. Why? Did he say something to you? It seemed that he was implying something. The angle of Cove's eyebrows crept into concerned territory, so he elaborated. It wasn't bad. It actually seemed good. He thinks you're sweet. The Cove's brows then pinched together, approaching a deep thought. Well, I'm not good at dancing. I've never have been. You know that. It's hard and nerve-wracking. And I made it clear why I was going through with something I'm not cut out to do. Who it was for. He showed you a soft smile, and his eyebrows evened out to normal. Maybe that's what he meant. You blushed, your eyes straying to the window. The parking lot had emptied out from earlier this afternoon. It really was just you and Cove. Maybe it was. You felt lucky. You felt very lucky to have such a loving fiancé. With the day's arrangements taken care of, Cove pulled out the empty lot and started drive away. Next time you're scheduled to come by, it would be for the usual kind of office visit. Your dancing inquired. You were highly anticipating meeting back up with Baxter. You had a good feeling about where this wedding was going. When you arrived for your session that day, you noticed Baxter's foot was tapping against the floor in steady rhythm. It seemed the lessons from the day before were still on his mind. Heya! Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's so nice to see you again. Now that we can keep going over the steps here, and there in between other aspects of the planning. But our main focus should move beyond that. What shall we begin? What shall we be doing today? Let's design a cake now, Cove. Baxter nodded, confirming that he had registered your choice. Beside you, Cove's excitement had bubbled over. He was bouncing in his seat, too eager to restrain himself.
Yeah.
Good idea, Callie. I'm definitely ready to plan treats. His open enthusiasm tickled you, electing an adoring chuckle that slipped out. Across the table, Baxter joined you with a soft laugh in regard. Meanwhile, Cove seemed oblivious to your amusement. You figured out he was too lost in imagining delicious cakes to notice what was happening around him. What you needed was someone to turn those dreams into reality. The agency had worked with all kinds of suppliers. So Baxter had a list of bakeries that recommended for weddings. You and Cove had a few personal favorites too. Together, you reviewed the websites for potential bakeries. Baxter had a wealth of handy tips of what to keep in mind when it came to specifically commissioning wedding cakes for you to take into consideration. The three of you were stored away until the options you'd finally settled on was the one you wanted. With that decided, Baxter decided to contact them to arrange a meeting so you could select the flavors and discuss the design ideas before working out practicalities. He secured a time that worked perfectly for both you and Cove. That brought you to the end of the meeting. The decision of which bakery to use, scheduling, briefing them on your basic requirements, that had all taken up the remaining time you had with Baxter for the day. The three of you rose from your seats, one after the other.
Goodbye for today.
It's been great to see you. Yeah. I can't believe next time we'll see you, we'll have our wedding cake picked out. Right, if everything goes to plan. Of course. I'm sure you'll have a great time together. I look forward to what you decide on. Though I won't be there in person, you can always text me if you want advice during the process. I appreciate that. It was reassuring to know that Baxter would be able to guide you if you got stuck, though you doubt that would happen. Waved goodbye as you and Cove left the office for the day. The light tinkling of the bell over the door announced your arrival. As you and Cove stepped inside, where you were immediately welcomed by a pleasant waft of sweet scents. The bakery was a delight, for the scents even before you had taken a single bite. The bakery was a delight for the senses, even before you had taken a single bite. Decked out in a pretty shade of pink, it was impossible to miss. Cove closed his eyes and inhaled deeply. There was a soft air of cakes and pastries baking in the oven, tinged with warm spices like cinnamon and nutmeg. The display case was full of daily selections of mouth-watering delicacies, neatly lined up and ready to be taken away. The selection ranged from intricate specialty cakes to more rustic, homey brownies and cupcakes. Usually those kinds of treats would be everything you needed, but today was a special visit. You were entirely focused on the bad desserts, waiting for you on the horizon. You could tell Cove your shared feeling. You could tell Cove shared your feelings. He waited beside you with every outward appearance of patience, but you could tell his anticipation by the way he kept a close watch in the kitchen door as you waited for an employee to come greet you. This uncharacteristic restraint was a stark contrast to any other time he had visited a bakery, where he had rushed over to the display case and immediately began picking out cakes to take home. As he shifted from one bed to the other, you knew his fine held back those usual urges. Luckily, his self-control wasn't tested for long. Soon the door to the kitchen swung open, and a friendly-looking face emerged. Upon you and Cove, the person smiled and began heading over. As they approached, you saw the name on the tag said Xavier, with a little purple button pinned on one strap of the apron with the words "They Them" pinned in black letters. Xavier walked right up to you, gave a welcome so warm you just want to come fresh from the oven. Hello, thanks for coming by, Zake. Is there anything I can get for you? Hi, Cove pointed at himself, then you as he spoke. We're Cove and Callie, we've got an appointment here. His voice, which had started out measured and even, became hushed as the thrill of what you were here to do started to get to Cove. When he resumed speaking, it broke further still, devolving into a rushed whisper that Xavier needed to lean in to catch. It's to plan our wedding cake. We're getting married.